Welcome to The Significance of Wealth with Tom Ruggie, founder and CEO of Destiny Family Office. I'm Martie Salt. In each episode, Tom brings you interesting topics and guests that reflect the independent thinking and tailored strategies he uses with his own multifamily office clients, exploring the evolving landscape of wealth management and ultra-high net worth, shedding light on the large sphere of alternative and private investments, and delving into the world of collecting as both a passion and investment strategy. Ultimately, he looks at success with a broad lens that may well transform the way we all define the significance of wealth. Hi, I'm Martie Salt, along with Tom Ruggie, founder and CEO of Destiny Family Office, and we welcome you to the inaugural episode of The Significance of Wealth. In each episode, Tom will bring you interesting topics and guests that will help define the significance of wealth beyond normal financial expectations. These podcasts will take a broader look at success and how it's truly measured. So we hope it will help you transform your own ideas about things such as investing, philanthropy, family dynamics across generations, and the importance of following your passion. So Tom, it's great to talk with you today.
It's great having you here. Always great to see you.
Great to see you. It's going to be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
So you've been a financial veteran for 30 plus years. How did you get started? And have you always been a bit of an entrepreneur?
Well, no, I haven't always been an entrepreneur, and getting started in the financial services industry was a little bit of a stroke of luck. But I do have a little note card in my office that I wrote to my grandmother when I was 5 years old. She'd sent me $5, and I sent her a note, handwritten note, and said, "Thank you so much. I'm putting it in the account, and I want to build up some wealth someday." So it's always kind of been in my genes. But I did go to school for finance. It's a long trek as to why I chose finance, but in essence, it boils down to my perception of what an accountant did, or what a marketer does, or what a finance person did while I was in college. And that perception, because of the 3 TV channel days, was really just based on TV shows and movies. And my perception of being in finance was, working in a big building, wearing a nice spiffy suit, helping people with their money, and that was attractive to me. So ultimately chose to do that while in college, and was fortunate enough to land a good position with a firm in 1991 when I graduated, and ultimately started my own firm in 1995.
Wow, well, that's been great. So,
Yes.
So making money has been in your genes since you were a little kid.
I'd like to think so, and it's a good thing, because spending money was in my genes as a kid as well, and the habits that I've tried to teach my clients, especially growing up in the industry, I had to teach myself as well. So
Right. You need to bring it in before you spend it. That's what you learn. Yeah.
Pay yourself first is what I always tell people.
Exactly. Okay. So what led you to turn your attention to opening Destiny Family Office in 2016?
Well, having been in the business for about 25 years at that point, I was really kind of reflecting on what is it I want to do for the rest of my career. And out of that, I literally made a list of what's important to me, what are the priorities, what do I want to be doing, who do I want to be doing it with. And what I realized is I enjoy working with very successful people that, despite their success, are still very involved and very passionate. And my top clients have more money than they'll ever need, and yet I would suggest that the majority of them probably work harder now than they did 10 or 20 years ago. And so having built up a good number of very high net worth clients that have needs beyond a lot of traditional type clients, it just became almost something that was necessary within the firm to be able to provide a much higher level or more detail oriented level of service to those people. And it's also what I'm very passionate about.
Tom, you've often said you live your core values. So what does that mean? And how does that relate to families you serve?
Well, I think the biggest thing about the core values, and really what I attribute a lot of the success of our firm to, is we've always looked at things the way we would want it if we were on the other side of the table. In other words, if we were the client, knowing what we know, what would we want? And it's kind of the golden rule of, doing to others as you'd want done to yourself. So I think that's the core premise of what makes up our core values is doing the right thing, fanatical attention to detail, and bottom line is creating a sense of certainty, a sense of peace of mind for our clients. And that's, really what our true core value is.
And you've defined 3 powerful uniques of your firm.
Yes.
And what are those, and how do they differentiate you?
Well, on the family office side, our 3 uniques, I think, first of all, is we provide a family office type structure for high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals. But more importantly, what we do is we bring everybody together so that we're all on the same team. So whether we're working with the CPA, working with the attorney, working with another investment advisor even, it's all about bringing everything together, brainstorming, and together determining what makes the most sense for this particular client in that situation. The second part is we have, for a firm our size, which we just passed the $1 billion mark of assets managed this past year, and I still consider our firm to be a small firm. When when I looked at getting to $1 billion, that was like a really big goal for us. But once we got there, what I told everybody is, $1 billion isn't what it used to be.
Well, no, of course not.
but part of what's really helped us to get there and what's differentiated us is we have an amazing investment platform, especially for a firm our size. We have access to amazing alternative investment funds. We've developed our own alternative investment fund that we can make available to accredited investors, which is pretty significant because every single holding within that portfolio is only available to what are called qualified purchasers, which means a $5 million net worth or more. Yet our portfolio is available to $1 million plus. And then really what that's led to is a number of direct investment opportunities. And our high net worth investors love the direct investment opportunities that we've been able to offer, such as just this past year, we offered SpaceX twice, we've offered Reddit, we've offered Stripe, we've offered Anduril. So, very unique investment platform that is a differentiating factor. So that's number 2 for us. And then finally, the third differentiator is collectibles. As I think Martie,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a fairly significant sports memorabilia collection. And what really got me going down the path of making that a part of our firm is I sat down, at some point a year or so ago and said to myself, Tom, you got a problem. If you don't make it home today, your family knows nothing about your collection. They don't know anything about the value. They don't know anywhere to go with it. And frankly, they don't care about it. And so I've devised a scorecard to help people that have high-end collections really have a plan of what to do with their collection, not only at their death, but also while they're living.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of these collections, so you have an autographed baseball card and sports memorabilia collection.
Yes.
With 2 card sets on the National Registry.
3, actually.
3.
Yes.
All right, correction. 3. So where did this start? Where did this passion, this interest for this start?
Well, that started in my youth at 7
Mm-hmm.
years old, going to my first spring training baseball game in Clearwater, Florida, which is where I was born. And literally at that time, they allowed a kid like myself to be not only on top of a dugout, but to hang over the dugout, hand a ball or a card or a piece of paper to the players and get it signed. And for whatever reason, that was always just something that I really enjoyed doing. And that kind of led to, well, I was collecting baseball cards as a kid, but it was the autographs that really was where my passion was. In fact, I sold all my baseball cards that were not signed when I was in college. And so the passion has followed through of collecting sets, and I started collecting a set, possibly the worst possible set you could try to collect from a value standpoint, but it just happened to be the year I started doing it again. And that really just got me the bug of doing it more. And now I have 3 on the registry, and I probably have 6 or 7 sets that could all be number one on the registry.
Wow.
All 3 of my sets are number one on the registry at this point.
So which autographs are your most prized?
I mean, I've got a number of Babe Ruth autographs, which, if you look at the stats on Babe Ruth, they're pretty amazing when one player hits more home runs than other teams in one year. I mean, that's unheard of. I'm a big Michael Jordan fan, so I have a number of Michael Jordan autographs and memorabilia pieces. And I'm also a big Muhammad Ali fan and have quite a few autographs of his, plus some of his fight-worn boxing trunks, which is a big part of my collection.
So just curious, is there one that you want that you don't have?
Oh, there's always something I want.
Oh, okay.
There's always something I want that I don't have.
Somebody's autograph that you want that you don't have.
Yeah, the problem with trying to get sets collected is, so my top set is the 1952 top set. So there's 407 cards in the set, and I have all but 9 autographed.
Gee.
And a couple of that I don't have autographed are big name people, but the problem is the other 7 nobody's ever heard of, but because they're so rare, they're also, if I ever do find them, they're so expensive. So yeah, it's a quest to try to get the set complete more so than a specific person's autograph, because I probably have virtually any specific person's autograph I would want.
It just represents a lot of time too that you put in over the years in collecting and pursuing these things. So how does your own understanding of collecting and collectibles then allow you to help like-minded top-tier collectors through the Destiny Family Office?
Well, it's like I mentioned earlier. I figured as I realized I had a problem, and this wasn't something that I've known or thought about for years. It was kind of an epiphany. It's like, Tom, you got a problem. Once I realized I had that problem, and understanding the business that I'm in, which is to help people with problems like this, I figured if I had the problem being in the business that I'm in, that there's probably quite a few people similar to me that have the same problem that have not properly addressed it. And so I felt there could be not only a niche there to address, but for me, it's a double passion niche, because aside from family and traveling and the typical things people like to do, my 2 hobbies and 2 passions are what I do for business, which I'm very passionate about, and my collection, and this really is an intersection of those 2. So I'm pretty excited to be able to work with both at the same time.
I guess. Makes life very interesting. So you've been recognized as a top advisor by Barron's and Forbes multiple times, and recently you've been ranked among America's top 250 advisory firms by Forbes and among 75 fastest growing fee-only RIAs by Investment News. So a chance to really be your own cheerleader, Tom. What are you doing that's catching the attention of these industry leaders?
Well, I don't know that it's anything specific that we're doing. I think that, at least one thing I always tell people, especially if I'm talking to other advisors that want to emulate the success that we've had, I always say you got to get the big stuff right. There's expectations that, you have to do some planning, you have to have certain returns on investments. The big stuff has to be done, but it's the little things that make a difference. And we try to focus on the little things. We're never going to have a situation where a live person is not answering our phone. We are always going to be back in touch with people, and this is firm wide, not just me, but we're going to be back in touch with people within 24 hours, usually much sooner. We're gonna recognize people's birthdays and anniversaries, and really, this is a relationship business, and the relationships that I've been able to accumulate in business for the 30 plus years I've been there are, it's one of the most important things in my life to me. And so I think it just boils down to doing the right thing, taking care of people, doing what you would want, knowing what you know, being empathetic, and giving people the peace of mind that they deserve.
Paying attention to those personal details makes such a difference, and that's really always been the success of a business for centuries, really. And then now we're in this environment where everything is so high tech, and then you get removed from people. But if someone is taking care of basics like that, I mean, just have a person who answers the phone. You call and you get a live person on the other end. That's huge.
Yes.
Really. And
it's aggravating to get the opposite of that.
Yes,
for sure.
It's a very, and everybody's been through that too.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's been on the receiving end of that, and and we hate it. And there's
Yes.
nothing we can do about it. So now you mentioned a few minutes ago that in 2023 your firm exceeded $1 billion in
Yes.
assets under management. So where do you go from here? Then what's the next milestone? What are the next goals that you set?
Well, the firm goals are financially driven, and we have a lot of other goals and priorities that if I were a client listening to this would probably be more meaningful. But the bottom line is we set a goal 6 years ago, a 10x our business in 10 years, and the goal was to grow the business 10 times based on assets that we were managing, based on our revenue, and then have a profitability component in there, because that needs to be there as well. And I'm pleased to say that we're 6 years into it. We are almost on track. We're not, the end of 2023, we weren't quite there, but within a small shot of being where we needed to be. And that goal, for what it's worth, is to be managing $3.5 billion by the end of 2027.
Okay.
Yes.
So how would you say you've led the curve as the industry has changed and it's evolved over the last 30 years? And obviously a lot of changes in the last 30 years. And then what do you see for the future?
Well, the future's tough, because I'll answer that part first, because
you don't have a crystal wall.
AI is going to change things. The rapid continual expansion of technology is going to continue to change things. And we're actually, working on what I call a next gen business model, because unlike, what you and I would like as far as somebody answering the phone, Gen Y and Gen Z, they operate a little bit differently. And we've actually realized that our business model is not a real appealing model to younger people. And my goal is for our firm to be a perpetual firm. I hope to be here a long time, but I want it to be here beyond me. And the only way that's going to happen is to have a business model that's also appealing to the younger generation. Going back to the first part of your question, I feel very fortunate, and I'd almost call it lucky. But there's that intersection between luck and wisdom that happens. But we've been ahead of the curve in our industry most of my career. I mean, we went to fee-based business in 1998, which was probably the first 5 or 10% in the industry to do so. I feel like establishing our family office 7 years ago, now that's kind of the in thing to do for financial firms like ours. And even the alternative and direct investments that I spoke of, that's probably one of the biggest things pushing financial advisory firms right now, is to get access to what we've had access to for many years now. I attend a lot of conferences, and every conference is about alternative investments and AI. And that's because that's top of mind awareness to these advisors. And we've already been there and built that out a little bit. So, hopefully we'll continue to be cutting edge. I always say, I forget the technical term for it, but we're not the first ones in, but we're typically the early adopters, and I think we'll continue to do so.
And on the subject of AI, what do you see how it's affecting you right now, and how would you project, maybe, because it's happening so quickly?
Yeah.
How would you project how it may affect your firm in a year, 2 years, 12 months, 24 months?
Yeah, candidly, I don't know the answer to that. There is just so much out there, and there's so much potential impact. But I think a couple things I think of is one is I think there's the potential for it to help us from a marketing standpoint. I think you can use AI to reach a bigger breadth of people out there and get your message out. So I think that's a positive. The second thing that I believe it does is I believe it can help in selection of, some of the financial aspects, or, whether it's individual stocks or whatever it may be. I personally don't think that's there yet, but I do think there's going to come a point where there's so much information readily available that it's going to help make our job of selection, and maybe even, I hate to say market timing, because we're not market timers, but I do think there's going to be some capabilities out there that, whether we end up using that or not, I think it is going to change the landscape.
All right. Yeah. No, there's no predicting it. I mean, it's kind of unfolding on its own. You're seeing how it affects everything. So a basic question: why did you start this podcast, the Significance of Wealth podcast? What do you want to do with this?
Well, I wanted to reach out to a broader base of people, and I wanted to focus on the three initiatives that we spoke of earlier. So the idea behind the podcast is I have the three, I'm going to call it silos, that we have, and the goal is going to be to rotate between those silos to attract or be beneficial or useful to the listener. So the first silo is just the pure family office silo, where we're going to focus more on needs of family offices, whether we're talking about estate planning or tax savings, or things that'll benefit families with a lot of wealth. The second component is going to focus on different investment alternatives. So whether it's the direct investments, such as who is Stripe, what are they doing, why are they doing it, why is this company a differentiator. I think that information is very interesting to a lot of people out there. And then the third leg of a stool, if you will, is going to be the collectible side. So we're going to have some podcasts that focus not only on the collectibles that I focus on, the sports memorabilia, but it could be artwork, it could be exotic cars, it could be anything that people want to collect. So the goal is to have a diversified podcast that hopefully has appeal to a lot of people out there.
Well, I think you're going to be doing that. How do you define wealth's significance and the impact that it can make on you, your family, your business, just everything around you?
I think everybody has to define that themselves. It's all relative.
How do you define wealth? What was there a thing in your mind at some point, where you thought, if I am like this, if this is happening in my life, or I've got this, then I'm coasting. I'm there. I've arrived.
My personality is probably one of never coasting and feeling like I've arrived. But as you asked the question, which I was not aware of what the questions were going to be, but it's interesting that two things crossed my mind, and of course they both relate back to my much younger days. And the first is going to a restaurant in Central Florida with my girlfriend at the time, and having X amount of dollars of cash in my pocket, and looking at the menu and listening to her order and me order, and calculating it up in my head to make sure I had enough money to pay the bill. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget leaving that restaurant. I said to myself, I want to be in a position that I never have to look at a price again.
Look at the right side of the menu, but you don't. All you have to do is look at the left-hand side. You've arrived, Tom, if you only have to look at the left-hand side of the menu, right?
That's right. That's where I wanted to be. And then the second thought that came to my mind was the first year in the business. And I started my first 4 years. I spent working for a firm. And we were at an outing with another firm, and I was in on a conversation, and the manager of that firm was complaining about one of his advisors, who was complaining about how much or how little money he was making. And the manager said, "Hey, he's making $50,000. I would think he ought to be happy with that." And I just recall sitting there saying to myself, you know what, if I could make $50,000, my life would be perfect and set. Right. And I can tell anybody listening to this that it's a complete and utter lie to tell yourself that. Because like I said, it is all relative and things change.
But those are goals, you know. Yes, that's a long time ago. You're first getting started. You're a kid, and you have goals, and so you meet them incrementally.
That's correct.
You know, and then you reach that goal, and then you come up with another goal, and
That's
it's a little bit bigger.
Well, we have our 10-year goal for 2027, but I've actually started another 10-year goal effective the beginning of this year. So like I said, I'm just right or wrong. I'm just a person that is not ever really content nor complacent, and that lives, for me, that lives through in my personal life. But again, I think for our clients, I think that's extremely important because it's what I would want in my advisor or my firm. I want a firm that is always going to be looking to do better and to get better and provide better offerings, and we have certainly put ourselves in a position to do that.
And suffice it to say, you've been looking at the left-hand side of the menu for a very long time now. Right? Yeah, we're past that point. So now we talked about professional goals and goals met and all that. Personally, what makes your heart beat? What gets you going?
Well, this Christmas was spent with my 3.5-year-old granddaughter, and ever since I started in the business in my early 20s, I'd have my older clients tell me, just wait till you become a grandparent because there's nothing like it. And I always believed them, but it's, even though you believe them, it's still hard to understand.
You don't know it.
Yeah, it's still hard to understand until you get there. And having the difference between a 2.5-year-old at Christmas versus a 3.5-year-old is a big difference.
Yeah.
She had an amazing Christmas. We had an amazing Christmas with her. My daughter is pregnant again, due late May. So, on the personal side, love that part. Our whole family is devoutly into CrossFit. My son owns part of a CrossFit facility and is a coach, even though he's still in college to go to school for something else. But that's a big part of our life as well.
Yeah, no, I know. You're a good advertisement for CrossFit, too. You've been that way for a long time, you and your wife. Well, Tom, it has been great getting to introduce you and Destiny Family Office and the Significance of Wealth podcast. We hope our listeners enjoyed today's episode. I know I did. I learned a lot. And we'll continue to tune into future episodes. So connect with us at destinyfamilyoffice.com on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Reddit. And recommend our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. And so until next time, take care.
Thank you, Marty.
On behalf of Tom Ruggie and Destiny Family Office, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Significance of Wealth and will continue to tune into future episodes. Connect with us at destinyfamilyoffice.com on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Reddit, and recommend our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Until next time. The expressed views, thoughts, and opinions in this episode of The Significance of Wealth belong solely to the host and/or guests and are not investment recommendations or offers to buy or sell securities or private investments by Destiny Wealth Partners or its affiliates. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. The funds discussed are typically for qualified purchasers, defined as $5 million of investment net worth, exclusive of primary residence.